Had a coffee at Loaf this morning with a good client who bought a house off me in Burraneer about 4 or 5 years ago now, and the child's just started high school, private school in the city, and the commute each way is about an hour. So they've decided they're going to buy a property in closer to the city, probably as close to the city as they can afford in the eastern suburbs to live in for the next 5 or 6 years while their child's at high school. And they're going to rent their house over here out in the meantime until they're ready to move back, and then they'll keep that home they purchase in near the city as an investment long term. So they wanted to ask me my thoughts around purchasing and some strategies, and just get some tips. And the question ultimately turned into a discussion around location, and they're looking at maybe a newer home somewhere around Little Bay or Malabar, somewhere around there, where they can afford a newer home in the eastern suburbs. And they started then talking about some older homes that they could afford in closer to the city, maybe around Maroubra, even Coogee, and wanted to know what I thought was a better purchase long term, the newer home or the older home. And I said, well, it really comes down to what you're wanting to live in. And they said, well, they don't mind, as long as it's a nice home, it doesn't have to be new. And I said, well, look at it this way. You buy a property, a new home, a modern home, today, probably about 50% of the purchase value is made up of the value of the house, and probably 50% of the land, the location. Whereas when a home gets older, the house probably doesn't make up any value at all. It's really all land value, and that's evident when you see people buy, a home that what looks to be actually a pretty good home, but they end up knocking it down to build a new home. People don't put value in a house that's an older house. They put value in the land. So long-term strategy, you want to buy a home where the value of the land is always going to be more. So I said, look, you want to get in close to the city. If you can afford to be close to the city, pick an older home in a better position, because long term, that's what's going to be worth more. Now, a good example here in the Shire of that is, my folks bought in Engadine, in the mid-70s. They purchased about $30,000 for land and a brand new home to go on that land. And at the time, they'd also looked at homes in Cronulla where you could buy an older home for about the same value, around $30,000. Now, fast forwarding the time to today, now that house in Engadine is probably selling for around maybe just over $1 million, and it's an old home now. Whereas the same homes they're looking at Cronulla back then are also old homes. They're a bit older, obviously, but those homes, the land value now is about $2 million. So they're worth approximately twice as much now, and it's not the house value, it's the land value that's gone up so much. So they thought that was great advice, and now they've decided they're going to focus probably closer to the city on property they can afford, and they're going to sacrifice the quality of home for quality of position. Better position is always going to be worth more money long term.